This conference will now be recorded.
All right, we are recording. This is the special meeting. Getting ready to go into a closed session pursuant to attorney-client privilege. Have a motion to go into closed session.
I'll make that motion.
Yes, motion. And a second. All right, all in favor? All right, we're now in closed session, and we'll.
This conference will now be recorded.
I'd like to make a motion to return to open session.
Okay, all in favor? All right, we're now out of the closed session, and we'll begin our regular meeting at 6 o'clock.
Need a motion to adjourn.
And a motion to adjourn the special meeting. Okay, all in favor? All right, take a few moments, and we'll be back at 6 o'clock.
This conference will now be recorded.
You guys can turn your microphones on.
Roll with it. You won't likely see it again.
I don't want to see it again.
Write that down. Yes, I did. Okay. All right, it's 6 o'clock. We will officially start this meeting. Thanks everybody for being here. If I could get everybody to stand. I'm going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Excuse me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone was still remain standing. Mr. Caldwell, would you please do an invocation for us, please, sir?
Father God, we thank you, dear Lord, for the opportunities you are about to lay before us this brand new year. We pray that this will be the best year in the history of this town, dear Lord, that things will be done that will just amaze everyone. We pray for your guidance, your blessings, your help through it all. We pray this prayer to you in Jesus' holy and precious name. Amen.
Amen.
And if you would remain standing, we'll have a moment of silence for our neighbors who passed away, particularly Mrs. Visnek, y'all might know from White Oak School. Thank you so much. Please be seated at this time. Please check your phones. Make sure you got them on a buzz or cut them off. And I'll ask anyone on the board, if you have a conflict of interest with anything on the agenda, please let me know now. If not, then we'll seek a motion to adopt the agenda as it is.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Second? All right. All in favor? Thank you. Next up is public comment. I don't think we had anybody signed up to speak since. Okay, so none of that. Next is the consent agenda.
Motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor? Okay. Next up is our quarterly report from the police department. Chief Silva. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are y'all?
All right.
Chief Silva.
And just make sure you cut that mic on. We got his,
Turn it off. Let's say
got him worked up.
We on? All right, there we go. So the fourth quarter police department report, if you go to the next slide for me. These are significant accomplishments that happened in the last quarter. The police department received a grant award from Big Rock Foundation for automatic external defibrillators and lapel microphones. We have received the automatic external defibrillators, and we are in the process this week of installing most of the lapel microphones into the patrol vehicles. Equipment for the grant was ordered back in December, but we've already received it. So annual in-service training documentation was completed and submitted to Training and Standards, which is required by state statute. Cameras were installed in the interview room in the police annex, so our interview room is up and running. Officers assisted with the Christmas escort for Santa Claus. Officer Hayden assisted with Swansboro Police Department and Atlantic Beach Police Department Christmas parade. She conducted traffic control there. And Officer Eschbach participated, shot with a cop in Emerald Isle. Next slide. So our total calls for service for last quarter were 1,489, and the officers conducted 5,210 directed patrols. Next slide. Traffic stops, 680 traffic stops, 33 motor vehicle collisions were investigated, and we wrote either 192 citations or effected arrest for that total. Next slide. And mutual aid requests. So mutual aid requests, we total of 37 mutual aid requests from outside agencies. 13 of those sent us to Cedar Point. 5 we went to Emerald Isle. 1 was in the Pelletier, 2 in Bogue. 8 were out in the county, and then we had 8 others in that quarter. And we assisted Fire EMS 61 times, and were provided mutual aid from outside agencies a total of 9 times. And then the next slide is going to be your Part 1 offenses, your violent crime offenses for 2024. So at the end of the year, this is the total, not for the quarter, but for the entire year. As you can see, our violent crime rate is very low in the town of Cape Carteret. Our significant stat there would be larcenies with 21, but most of those are going to be commercial, and we had 15 frauds total for the year. Next slide will be Part 2 offenses, and as you can see, the significant ones there are driving while impaired and offenses against family. If there's any questions from the board, I think the next person up is going to be Officer DeStefano with about a grant proposal that we're going to have. So ask him to come on up.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Master Officer Jeremy DeStefano. One of my assigned duties with the police department is our designated contact for the North Carolina Governor Highway Safety Program. And we have a small presentation to go over in reference to a GHSP grant that we are interested in. So on our first slide, what is GHSP? The North Carolina Governor Highway Safety Program is a program dedicated to reducing the number of traffic crashes and fatalities in North Carolina. The NCGHSP promotes highway safety awareness through various grants such as Click It or Ticket, Booze It or Lose It, Speed a Little, Lose a Lot, and grants to assist police departments in reducing the number of DWIs. The goal is to reduce the number of traffic-related deaths in North Carolina highways. Cape Carteret Police Department participation in North Carolina GHSP. The Cape Carteret Police Department currently participates in the North Carolina Governor's Highway Safety Program by conducting traffic saturation patrols, checkpoints, and reporting traffic citation numbers during GHSP campaign initiatives. Reimbursement for traffic-related overtime. The grant funds for this project cover 100% of overtime pay minus benefits for police officers. Funding for officers may be used for proactive traffic enforcement operations. The traffic operations must focus on DWI and safety-related violations. And if you see up here, these are our last 4 years of statistics in comparison to crashes and DWI arrests. Thank you. Goals: reduce traffic crashes in the corporate limits of Cape Carteret, increase highway safety for residents and visitors to the community, increase officers' presence to prevent individuals from committing traffic safety offenses, increase enforcement for driving while impaired offenses. What is expected? The North Carolina GHSP overtime grant operates on an annual term, which may be renewed in January of each year. Fiscal years are measured from October 1st to September 30th. Your starting and ending dates, starting would be October 1st of 2025. Ending dates would be September 30th in 2026. State commitment, 100% of overtime pay. Grant request up to $46,632 would be our asking for the grant. Town commitment, benefits for full-time staff. approximately 13,523. Those are the approximate number of benefits for full-time officers for the FICA, Medicare, LEO retirement, 401k, health, vision, etc. Hours per week. 16 hours per week dedicated to enforcement from the months of November to April. 24 hours per week dedicated to enforcement April to November, and a totality of 1,072 hours. And with that being said, any question?
So Mayor Baker, Commissioners, you have a resolution in your packet for your consideration that if you're so inclined, would authorize us to submit a grant application to the Governor's Highway Safety Program. Those grant applications are due later this month, January 31st. So it's an opportunity for us really to provide additional police coverage in the community, really at very little additional cost, as Officer DiStefano mentioned.
So our participation would be 13, and the states would be 46 approximately.
That's correct, if we receive the full award that we requested.
It says up to several times in here. Are we requesting 46,000 or is it a pay as you go?
It would be us requesting that amount. There's no guarantee that they will give us a 46,000 of what our asking is, but they could grant us that. The majority that I've seen.
But it will be a set grant amount, whatever they grant.
Correct.
It's not we do 5 hours this week and get those.
Correct.
Essentially, if awarded the grant funding, it's basically going to enable us to take an officer and have them focus solely on traffic enforcement, thereby freeing up another officer to focus on proactive patrols in the community, responding to calls, those kinds of things, again, at a minimal cost.
So one of your existing officers?
Yeah, this grant is particularly for overtime expenses for one of the existing officers, yes.
How do they verify that? Overtime?
The police department will have to keep track of everything and submit reports to the Governor's Highway Safety Program. They have to document that that person was focused on traffic enforcement.
What happens if we do not hit the goal? Sorry.
We would be reimbursed monthly, and we would submit the monthly reports in, and then if we, occasionally they will audit those in our CAD records to prove that that person was solely dedicated to traffic enforcement, but this would be an extra duty function. So the officers would work their normal shifts and then come in on their day off for a few hours to work traffic enforcement. It's an extra, it's not taken away from any patrol service that we have already.
But there's no penalty if we don't.
No, sir.
Let's say we're awarded 46,000 and we only use 45 or $20,000.
We may, next time we apply for the grant, they may reduce it, or they may not give us a grant this time. But the grant is annual.
So if we use like 23, are we only up for half of the 13? I mean,
That's
how much?
correct. Because
Okay.
the portion the town's doing is just benefits. So that would be for full-time staff. Part-time staff can actually participate too, according to board of government highway safety. Part-time officer come in addition to their normal hours of duty and perform the traffic function, so long as we document that. The key is the documenting, having the CAD record to show that, and the full-time guys have benefits that have to be paid, 401k, your law enforcement retirement. So that's what you're paying, the portion of that. The federal grant won't cover any benefits, or they call it fringe benefits, but benefits.
When's the grant got to be in, Frank?
By the end of the month.
End of the month?
Yeah.
I make a motion that we approve this to apply for the grant to help the police department in any way we can.
Second.
All right. Any more discussion or questions?
No, I think it's a good idea. And have we ever done this before?
I don't believe we have.
Okay. So this is good. I mean, this could be the beginning of something new. So I think this is a great idea.
All right. All in favor? All right. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
I've heard a lot of great things about our sign. It gets my attention, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
All right, next up is a resolution authorizing the certification of the municipal declaration to repeal the speed limits and request for concurrent reduce NC 24 and Taylor Ocean Road speed limits to 35 mile an hour, which we discussed last meeting.
That's right. Yeah, as you recall, at the November meeting, we talked about several NCDOT related requests. The board, basically by consensus, indicated your support to reduce the speed limit on Highway 24 from Deer Creek to the eastern town limits from 45 to 35. You can see on the graphic on the screen, that's the entire length of 24 in the town limits. The red is currently a 35 mile an hour zone. The blue is currently a 45 mile an hour zone. We discussed and the board expressed support for making the entire length of Highway 24 a 35 mile an hour speed limit. We also talked about Taylor Ocean Road. The entire length of Taylor Ocean Road in blue is currently a 45 mile an hour speed limit. The board expressed by consensus support for a 35 mile an hour speed limit on the entire length of Taylor Ocean Road. Following that meeting, I had additional discussion with NCDOT. They have indicated to me that they will support those reductions in the speed limits on both roads. However, we need a formal resolution approved by the Board of Commissioners to be submitted. If the board takes that action tonight, I would expect NCDOT will move forward and replace the signage and go through the formalities to reduce the speed limits. Probably could be done by the end of February, perhaps early March, if the board is so inclined. So this is basically formalizing the previous discussion and decisions that you talked about in November.
Frank, refresh my memory, did we have public comment on that in November?
I don't recall. I think he certainly provided the opportunity. I don't know if anyone actually did at the meeting. I honestly can't recall.
Does anybody recall if anybody's? But it was offered to the public.
Yeah. We had some comments as far as people supporting that, but I didn't hear anything.
It was on the agenda. It was
Yeah.
an actual agenda item.
I didn't hear anything against it.
Well, I was absent in November, so yeah, that's why I'm asking.
We talked about
We talked about it at the November meeting.
Okay.
I mean, that's a biggie. I just want to make sure the public was afforded the opportunity.
Would you like to say something?
I think the 35 miles an hour all way in Oregon City is too slow.
Well, to clarify, it's only within the town of Cape Carteret.
Yeah, it'll
So-
end at our limits.
So right,
Taylor Nelson, I don't know about 35 miles an hour. We've always gotten along well with 45, but I guess since we have townhouses there, we have to treat them differently.
I think, so we're about to finish the trail. And I think we have a lot of things coming in that are going to warrant people getting outside and walking and riding bicycles. And, it's going to slow the traffic down so people can do those things. And so when you create the environment where you want people to come outside and use a trail, do a turkey run, when traffic is flying by you, that can be a little nerve-wracking. So, this is the beginning part to the things that we're building and for the things to come. So, I'm in favor of this.
Well, if you have the old saying, if you post at 35, you're going
They're
to go 45.
Yeah.
It's just a
But I
suggestion.
agree with you, Cameron, because a lot of people out here may not know that we will be building a sidewalk from here all the way to Bay Shore. So both sides of the road is more pedestrian friendly, and then maybe golf carts, who knows? But the feedback I'm getting is 100% positive for lowering it on Taylor and Ocean, but I'm having mixed reviews on going out of town. But I'm with you. I mean, I think it's time, especially for what's going to happen in the future.
Sure, go ahead.
I'm kind of 50-50 on the 24 thing. I mean, I think it's fine how it is. But if you are going to do it, can you also put one of those signs ahead of the 35 zone? It's going to go straight from a 55 right now you've got that sign out there that says, it warns us of.
Yeah, 30. Yeah, we're just moving that back. We're moving that back to the intersection.
Because it's gonna cause a lot of people out.
Right.
Well, it actually is 45 in Bogue.
That's in Bogue, yeah. You'll
Yeah.
drop from 55 to 45 and then come into our
45.
town.
So that's gonna be the 45 right?
Yes,
It'll be a
yes.
step,
Okay.
it'll be
Yeah,
a
nothing will
step
change
down.
in Bogue.
We're basically stopping, that line effectively stops at that Mike's breakfast, right? Is that what it's called now? Mike's, yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Just on
Yeah,
the other
so it's
side
about
of the
right there.
stoplight.
Okay, all right.
and the rest is up to the chief and his staff, so.
I decided I'm not gonna come through Starkville anymore, because there's a curve before the exit in Starkville. And you can't see someone coming, and then
Going too fast.
it's
So
just
slowing
going
that
fast,
traffic
and-
down would be.
And I could hardly get out of there.
Yeah.
I'd already committed.
I drive slow.
But I couldn't see the car, and then all of a sudden there it was.
Well, you've got 35 all the way from Swansboro through Cedar Point, and it's just,
Well, and one of the things too that was brought up is, during when school is letting out, where that red line actually meets the blue line, it can drop from 45 to 25, and that's a sharp decline. So when we talk about sharp declines in speed, that's a strong one there. So again, I'm in favor of this. I think this is a good idea. I think this is moving us forward. And for, like you said, Steve, the path that we're going to put on the south side of the 24, this is going to be just really help that out. So,
well, our town's slowly becoming more pedestrian friendly, and it's a good thing, I think. So we have to adjust our speed limits to keep everybody safe. So with that said, I'll make the motion for the resolution.
I'll second.
Second. All right. All in favor? Okay. All right, next up is potential action resulting from a closed session, which we just had. And I'm going to make a little speech myself about this. As y'all know, we've been fighting with the issue of a vape store wanting to go across the street. And when this board was made aware of a vape shop wanting to open in the old Wells Fargo building, it was unanimous that this was not an acceptable business for what is considered the most prominent part of our town. Our town manager, acting under approval of this board, attempted to produce what we felt was our best approach to try and keep this from happening and denying the permit for them to open. As a result, the prospective tenant appealed this decision to the Board of Adjustments. After hearing all the details from both sides of the Board of Adjustments, decided to uphold the town's position on denying the permit. The response from our citizens was also overwhelmingly against it. While this board and its citizens have made the stance that this type of business is not wanted or considered a positive addition to our town, we must face the reality that we can't afford to fight this as we go on. And so that is where we have made the progress between us, and I want to thank our lawyer for his guidance during all this, where we have now settled this, and we have done this at a fraction of what the cost could be if we faced this, if this went on into the court system. While we can never anticipate the property owner would ever consider leasing to a business like this, we have taken action and adjusted our UDO to prevent this from happening in the future. To say I'm disappointed in the property owner's choice to lease to a vape shop in the most prominent location in our town is an understatement. But I do understand they're wanting to make as much money as possible from their lease. For them, it's all about the money. They don't live here. And so the negative effects of this does not give them any concern at all. But I would like to once again just thank our town manager and town attorney for their diligent work on this issue. I'd also like to thank this board for making the tough decisions, which are in the best interest of this town. And while I do not have a vote, if I did, I would vote in favor of this. And I do support this board's decision in this wholeheartedly. So right now we're getting ready to put it forth, pull it out here, the motion to where we are going to approve this settlement where it is $75,000, half of which we're going to pay now, half of which once a certificate of occupancy is issued for that building for what we would hope to be a fast food restaurant, but not. It's not going to be a vape shop.
I'd like to make that motion to approve the settlement.
Okay.
and release between the, do I need to do both separate or just one?
Yeah, so these will be separate.
Okay, the motion to approve the settlement agreement and release between the town of Cape Carteret and SP 103 LLC.
Okay.
We have to vote on that?
Yes, that's first. So I need a second. Okay, John. Any discussion before?
Yeah, this was something that we certainly didn't ask for. We were thrown in on this, and I think this board handled it very, very well, looking out for the best interests of this town. It was not an easy process. Several closed sessions got to this point. Town attorney, town manager. Can't thank them enough for the hard work that they did. But we're not going to have a vape shop in Wells Fargo building. And yeah, it cost us some money, but it's worth it. That's all I got to say.
More comments? Not all in favor? Okay, and now we need the other resolution, if you want to do that one too.
All right, motion to approve the general fund budget amendment, appropriating funds for the settlement agreement and release.
Okay, second. Thanks, John. All in favor? All right, thank you.
Excuse me.
Next up is the town manager report. Frank?
Thank you, Mayor Baker. Commissioners, several things in the written materials tonight. Just hit a couple of the high points. Number one, we talked a minute ago about the speed limit changes. You may recall at that same meeting in November, we requested NCDOT install a new traffic signal at the intersection of 24 and Bayshore Drive and Fox Drive. NCDOT is starting work on that analysis. They will be conducting some traffic counts out in that area over the next few months. I expect that they'll complete that analysis perhaps in March or April of this year. That analysis may come back indicating that a traffic signal is not warranted. It may come back that the signal is warranted and NCDOT will fund it. Another potential alternative is that it may come back that the signal is warranted, but they will not fund it. So a lot of that will depend on the analysis that they conduct over the next few months. But I wanted to let you know that's in progress, and you'll probably see some folks out there working on the analysis at some point. A couple of other things. I included some information in the packet about the town's chicken ordinance. We've had a lot more interest in that in recent weeks and months. Commissioner Barnhill sent me a note with some possible suggestions for amendments to that ordinance in the future. That is in your packet as well. That's something that we can certainly pursue at a future meeting if the board is so inclined. Also wanted to just remind the board that we've tentatively got a budget planning workshop scheduled for Monday, February the 24th. I'll be developing a draft agenda for that, and I'll share that with you probably in the next couple of weeks or so. But please let me know if there are specific items that you would like to discuss during that budget planning workshop, and I'll be happy to add those to the agenda. You can let me know that at any time over the next few weeks or so. A couple of other things just to hit really quick. The lease agreements for 204 WB McLean Drive, the former police department currently occupied by the Girl Scouts, and also the Cult Life facility. Those lease agreements are up on September 30th of this year, 2025. They are all on a concurrent schedule. We need to start thinking about whether or not we would like to extend those leases perhaps for another year through September 30th of 2026. That's definitely one of the topics that I'll have on your budget planning workshop agenda in February. I think we've got a little bit of time on that. I wish we'd be in a position to move forward on the new building by that time, but we may not. So just be thinking about that, and we'll have a more robust discussion in February. Happy to tell you that if you didn't see it yourself today, the contractor started paving the multi-use path on Highway 58 today. So that's good to see going forward. Yes, sir.
I went over there last Friday. Put a tape on it, one's 24 and one's 16. I know we agreed on 216, so I guess we got a bargain on the 24 footer. My concern is on the 16 footer, which is the first one going up 58 on the right hand side.
Yes.
There's probably a ditch about that big, and
and there's no riprap or any kind of retention to hold that bank back. And I could see in a downpour where that path might fail because it'd be washed out. Is there anything the contractor's going to do to establish permanency to that grade?
Yeah, so
It's about like this.
yeah, so well, there is. You may not have been able to see them. There are actual retaining boards underneath of the walkway holding up the thing. So yeah, so they're there. We certainly can add some riprap in that area. That's easy to do, and I'll take a look at that and try to make that happen. So sure.
Thank you.
A couple of other things. The Taylor Notion Road multi-use path. I am expecting the contractor literally to get started any day now. Had path staked. We've had some of the utilities for Brightspeed relocated. Still working through an issue with a property owner and still working through some stuff with the Forest Service. The Dolphin Street drainage improvements. We expect Sunland to be out there starting on January the 27th to begin that work. So looking forward to having that done. Finally, just really for the benefit of the folks in the audience here and who may be viewing later, so far we've sold 196 boat ramp passes. So we've got 104 left. So if you would like to secure one, I would encourage you to do that sooner rather than later. Once we hit the cap of 300, there will be no additional boat ramp passes sold for 2025. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about any of these items or really anything else that you're concerned about or interested in. Yes.
I would like to add the potential changes to Chapter 91 on the animals, the chicken ordinance, the code of ordinance for our next meeting. Is that something I can do here
Okay.
to add it to the agenda?
That's something we can certainly add to the agenda if you'd like.
I had a question about the, just going back to the signal thing. So one of the options was a new signal is warranted, but DOT will not fund. How does that work? Do they submit for funding for these things, or and then it's if they don't get it that year, they resubmit the next year, or is that them just saying, hey, yeah, we believe you need one, so you guys go figure it out?
Yeah, so there are different thresholds of the signal being warranted. So it may be that the signal's warranted and they'll build it into their program for future improvements and they'll seek the funding through their normal funding sources. That would be the best case scenario, I think, for us. There's a scenario where they may say, yes, the signal's warranted, but we have to identify alternative funds. What they would, the first thing they would say is, does the town of Cape Carteret want to fund this signal? They tell me it's probably in the $250,000 range for a new signal. That's a significant price tag for a small town like Cape Carteret. I think in reality, if that's the result that comes back, I think we'd be working with Representative Carnes and Senator Sanderson and perhaps some other funding partners for that. And I think we'd have a reasonable chance of success with that route, but that's the most likely.
Now this could be any device. It could be one of those devices where you can only turn a certain direction. I mean, we think traffic light. This could be any device, correct?
Well, the specific request that we put forth was for a traffic signal. So the expectation is they're going to analyze whether or not a traffic signal is feasible or prudent at that location. And so how it's actually configured as far as the timing and dedicated turn arrows and so forth, that'll be part of the analysis that they conduct. If this analysis comes back and they say a signal's not warranted, I think we certainly could ask them to consider other traffic control devices that might work at that location. But as of now, they're pursuing a traffic signal.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
How about our meeting with all the local leaders?
Yeah, so I haven't made any progress on that because of the holidays, but that's something I'll be working on going forward and trying to schedule that. So.
Any more questions for Frank?
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Frank. Next up is commissioner reports. Start with you tonight, Cameron.
All right, great. We often up here, the commissioners, we thank the town staff, and I think it becomes just kind of the thing that we do. And reading the narratives on what each department is doing. There's a lot going on, and town staff does a lot, and there's a lot of behind the scenes that I don't think people see. So again, I'm going to say, thank you to all the town staff for what you do, but I encourage people, when I talk to people out in town, they say, oh, well, we've got all these people. Well, I encourage you to go to these summaries in the printout and things, and read about what's going on. And I think it's very important to understand what things are being worked on. Some of it's behind the scenes that we don't see. So again, thank you to all the departments we have in the town, and that's all I have. Thank you.
So I just wanted to start out, you'll probably notice that Commissioner Waltrip is not here tonight, and that's because the county changed their meeting to tonight, so she regrets not being here. I'm used to seeing her face out there, so we miss her. And this year I was tasked with ringing the Salvation Army bell, and Mayor Baker helped me out, and Danny helped me out, and Paxton's not out here, but I saw her out there ringing. But if you ever get a chance to do it. It's a great time to talk to your neighbors and interact and find out what's going on in the town. And as far as the vape shop, we won. And that's like I'm really passionate about keeping that out of our town. And so I'll sleep better at night, not having to ride by Wells Fargo, just picturing that being a vape shop anymore. Like, thank the Lord. But I'm really excited. The board worked really hard. I know y'all drove y'all crazy, but I think we all did a great thing. It cost us a little bit of money, but I think it was well worth it in the end. It's like it was an investment for our town. So, and thanks. We're trying to clean up the UDO, and I think we did put a big dent in it. And it was very good timing for our town too. So that's all I can say. Thanks.
All I can say is thank you, Brett and Frank, for keeping the vape shop out. For those of you that are out there, you have no clue what the last 6 months have been like. I want to thank Courtney for her persistence. I want to thank Charlie for his honesty and guidance. Steve and Cameron, we all had good points, and we all worked really, really hard. And we were all together.
We were.
And as long as I've lived here, I've never seen a board operate like this. And I've been here 35 years, so I want to compliment my fellow commissioners, the mayor, town manager, town attorney. I want to say thank you to the chief. Chaplain, thank you for showing up tonight, keeping me out of the spotlight, and staff here in the office, and Ryan and the public works staff, because there's a lot of things that have happened to make the town better, and we're working to make the town better. So to all our citizens, thank you for supporting us. Happy New Year. And let's go 2025.
No worries. Happy New Year, everybody. Hope y'all have a great year.
Yeah, I wanted to make mention, Frank, I don't think Frank Dell will make mention that Mayor Baker, Commissioner Barnhill, myself met with 2 county commissioners and our State House Representative Celeste Carnes, and had a great meeting trying to get them to fund our new town hall, $3.3 million. We've asked them to do that, and we're waiting to hear if they can help us out with that. I thought it was a very productive meeting myself, but time will tell. It don't hurt to ask. I'd like to echo a little bit about this board. This board, like John said, is kind of unique to this town. It's I've served on this board for 7 years. This is the best board by far in those 7 years that I've served on. We don't look for controversy, but when it comes our way, we're not afraid to find a solution for the controversy. And I think that's evidence of what we did with the vape shop. I know a lot of people on some of the previous boards that I've served on would probably fold and probably wouldn't have allowed it to come. You got a good, strong group of people here. We got a great town attorney and a fantastic town manager. I'm looking forward to this year tremendously to see what we can get done for this town. That's all I got to say.
Courtney, you want to add?
One more person, I think. There might be 2 of them in here, board of adjusters that work with the vape shop deal too. I'd like to thank you guys for your alternate, and then Sean over there. So you guys were instrumental too in helping us with the vape shop.
You're not being prejudiced against that guy,
Just
are
a
you?
little bit. But we appreciate you guys.
There you go. Well, I get the last word. First thing I'll do is, Mike, thank you so much for having Santa Claus
Really?
go around town. That was amazing. Had a lot of great
Got a lot of
feedback
good
on
feedback.
that. Kids loved it. The kids really did. And the tree lighting as well, which Courtney was there for that.
That was fun.
So we've done a lot festive this year for our town, and it's and as the board is related with the whole vape thing, it's been some struggles, but we persevered. We've gone through with it, and I think, like you say, we got a win out of it. As far as I look at is what the potential just negative thing would have been to allow that to come here. And thank you for the presentation you did on the dangers of the vapes and everything. And I had no idea some of that was allowed, and the way the state sort of fell behind the curve on regulating some of this stuff is just mind-boggling to me. But there again, it cost us a little money, but I think the cost would have been a lot more detrimental, especially to our children, to allow it to happen. So kudos and thank you to this board. I can't say enough about how much I'm impressed with every one of them in our staff and our lawyer and Frank. Just an amazing job. And thank you for coming. You people that come here every month. This is your town. I say this a lot. I know I get tired of hearing me saying the same thing, but I mean it. I'm very, very honest in that I appreciate you. Whether we agree or not, I want to hear what you got to say. So that way this board can make good decisions that's in the best of the welfare of this town that we live in. Because I tell you what, you're going to have to drag me out of this town. I'm not going anywhere. And thank you to our staff. Just amazing. Everybody doing a great job. And I hope everybody has a wonderful new year. And I'm going to shut up and hope somebody does a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that
Second.
motion.
All in favor? All right. Thank you, everybody. Happy New Year.